First at 4, the Republican running for Secretary of State tried to disqualify thousands of votes in Detroit.
Today, we have the judge's scathing decision to her lawsuit. Plus, here's Paula.
Okay, it's called a blood moon. We're going to have a great opportunity to see the lunar eclipse. We have everything you need to know so you can get maximum excitement.
And we will have clear skies for that eclipse tonight. It is going to be beautiful. We've got a beautiful sunset coming very shortly. 52 right now in Howell, also in Pontiac. I'll have your full forecast coming up.
Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News First at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon. I'm Karen Drew along with Jason Colthorpe for an extended edition of First at 4.
And we start with a court case that could have shaken up the midterm elections in Detroit, but a judge has now decisively dismissed the claims. The Republican candidate for Secretary of State Christina Caramo filed a lawsuit 12 days ago to disqualify absentee ballots only in the city of Detroit. She argued the counting system violated election law and wanted to require Detroiters to vote in person. Today, a Wayne County judge dismissed the suit, ruling it failed dramatically and did not produce any evidence of its claims. We're still gathering reaction to this story and the ruling, and we'll have a live update on Local 4 News coming up at 5.
At the top of the ticket this year, 2 women are running to be Michigan's next governor, and they've been scrambling to offer closing arguments to voters. Polls have shown the incumbent Democrat Gretchen Whitmer in the lead, but Republican Tudor Dixon launched a blitz of campaign ads just in recent weeks. Kimberly Gill in the newsroom for us this afternoon, starting off our coverage here, getting the results that really are going to be very important to count tomorrow. Kim.
Indeed. Karen, good afternoon to you. That's right. The results that count come from those absentee ballots that have already been cast and the voters who go to the polls starting tomorrow at 7 a.m. Both Whitmer and Dixon have been reaching out to voters today asking for your support. Today, Governor Whitmer stopped at a small business in Southfield. Her team is calling these campaign stops, quote, getting things done trip, the getting things done trip. Whitmer's last event of the day will be in East Lansing with all the top candidates on the Democratic ticket. This morning, both candidates spoke to Local 4 News. Tudor Dixon says Michigan students need help after Whitmer's COVID lockdowns kept them home during the pandemic. Listen.
It's the number one concern I hear from parents across the state. Our children are so far behind from the number of months that they were out during the pandemic, and they haven't had the proper support to get them back on track. It is really critical that we have the support in the classrooms to get these children back on track.
I think it's time for us to not go backward, but to put our foot on the accelerator, whether it's the job announcements or the investment we've made in education or protecting women's ability to make their own decisions about their bodies. All of this is a question of, are we going to keep moving Michigan forward or are we going to go backward? And I say, let's put our foot on the accelerator.
So, of course, we're also tracking the races for Attorney General, Secretary of State, members of Congress, plus ballot initiatives such as Prop 3, which would amend the state constitution to protect a woman's right to choose. Critics, of course, say Prop 3 goes too far. So there's so much on the ballot. We'll be following everything for you right here on Local 4. For now, Karen, we'll send it back to you and Jason in the studio.
All right. Thank you, Kim.
Sure.
And don't forget, we do have a digital election guide right now posted on clickondetroit.com.
And that includes exclusive poll results on key races and those proposals. You can also see Devin's interviews with Governor Whitmer and Tudor Dixon about their stance on key issues. Plus, our election guide will show you exactly what's on the ballot and help you find out where to vote if you're not sure. All of that on the elections page at clickondetroit.com.
We do know that weather can have an impact on election turnout. It's definitely cooler this week, but still really comfortable.
The chill actually caught up with me today. I was getting so used to the 70s in November. What happened?
Well, hang on, because I might have a little something for you in the forecast. In the same week, we could hit 70 and get some snow all in the same week. Welcome to fall in Michigan. 57 degrees at City Airport, also Metro Airport, 52 in Pontiac, 51 in Lapeer. Your evening planner, it's dry. Cools down quickly, though. Remember, the sun sets early, so it will set about 5:23 tonight. 46 degrees by 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the low 40s, and by midnight, a few of the suburbs, I wouldn't be surprised if they are already down to the upper 30s. Election Day forecast for tomorrow looks beautiful. It is chilly in the morning, but not bad. This is right where we should be for this time of year, with temps in the low 50s and a lot of sunshine tomorrow. Again, there are some changes up and down for the rest of the week. We're going to kind of pinpoint when things are happening coming up in the forecast in a few minutes.
All right, Kim. You may have seen the movie last year, Don't Look Up. Well, tomorrow, astronomers telling us to do the opposite. They say do look up because the moon will look very different than we're used to. And as Paula Tutman reports, this lunar eclipse promises to be one heck of a show.
Well, we missed the last lunar eclipse because that was back in May and we didn't have great weather for it. The weather this time is supposed to be amazing. Of course, we know that eclipses tend to have an historical bad rap through the ages, but now because of science and we know so much more about them, now they just have a cool factor. Some ancient myths call the blood moon a harbinger of coming evil, but science has identified the wonders of the full lunar eclipse as, and this is a technical term, really cool.
What makes this kind of a cool eclipse is it happens near moon set. So the moon's going to be heading towards the horizon. So we may be afforded the luxury of seeing a fully eclipsed red moon that looks enormous because it's going to be close to the horizon.
Mike Narlock, the chief astronomer for Cranbrook's Institute of Science, walks us through the wondrous 85-minute sky show tomorrow morning.
This line here represents the penumbra, which is a fancy way of saying it's a very, very light shadow. Once it hits the umbra, this is the dark part of the shadow. And what happens is that's the part of the shadow that looks nice and red. So the first thing you have to do is convince your body that you want to get up at a ridiculously early hour.
Depending on your level of commitment, the show actually starts a little after 4 tomorrow morning.
Things really get started a little bit after 5 o'clock when it starts to go through the dark part of the Earth's shadow.
The first thing you'll see is the shadows, seemingly taking a bite out of the moon.
And that bite will get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until eventually the moon will be entirely engulfed in the Earth's shadow.
You can move around and get some other things done and then keep coming back because this is a process that takes nearly an hour and a half. But the big event will be when the moon is completely blocked as it moves through the Earth's shadow. And this is what you really want to make sure you're watching as the moon goes from silvery to blood red. That's going to happen around 6 in the morning.
When you go out walking, like on a beautiful sunny day, and you look at your shadow, our shadows look dark, but the Earth's shadow is red. So when the moon, the big bright silvery moon, goes through the Earth's shadow, it's going to go from that silvery white color to a deep red color.
By 7:30, the moon is set and it is done. Okay, so of course what you're looking at right here is the dome of the observatory here at the Cranbrook Institute of Science. You don't need all of that because this is a naked eye event. So unlike a solar eclipse where you cannot look directly at it, this is a lunar eclipse and you can look directly at it. The only equipment you really need, so you don't need any fancy equipment, are your very own peepers. However, Jason, if you do decide you want to use binoculars or a telescope, you do need to make sure you have a specialized moon filter because of when you amplify the image, you amplify the brightness and that could be damaging. Best to just look at that great big fat red moon with your own eyes because it is supposed to be spectacular.
Yes, Paula coming through with the science.
I will be up.
With a big fat red moon.
Yeah, bring it in.
There you go. Good stuff. Thanks, Paula.
Big fat red moon.
You got a liver energy, right?
Fantastic.
Yes, love it. All right, thanks, Paula. Still ahead. It is a travel perk that makes your trip to the airport a little easier, and we have an update on how much it's going to cost you.
And we think you will like what you hear, by the way. Also, former Vice President Al Gore does not like what he's seeing from the world's most developed countries. His new warning about the choices we're facing.
First, the connection between tonight's huge Powerball jackpot and rising interest rates. Will the winner do something no winner has done since 2014?
Interesting.
Gotta crunch those numbers.
I'm in. I'll come back.